Hi, my name is JT Thomas, and welcome to Positive Feedback Loop, where we have great conversations with interesting people. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Katie Fitzpatrick, formerly known as Katie Bailey, formerly known as just Katie.
Yes, it's true. My name is Katie.
Yes, so thank you very much for joining me on this conversation today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day today. Not raining, which is the best part about today, I think. Nice weather. I'm doing fantastic. Wonderful. And how are you?
I am doing better than I deserve.
Okay.
I just did some laundry before coming here, steeped you some green tea.
What a great host.
Thank you.
Great host.
Only the highest standards for positive feedback loopers. I don't have a name for anybody who watches this, but I don't want to do that.
Okay,
because these are just these are people. We're highlighting people. So, our friendship goes back quite a few years, probably back to high school.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you and I were. You did student council, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
And some of involvements in there, and you were just a kind of person that people wanted to be around. I would say, in high school, always smiling, Exhibit A.
Thank you.
And you were always just kind and had a group of friends that you stick to, and you are still friends with them to this day. I see via social media, and I don't think we've even really seen each other in person since high school.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But that's the wonderful thing about social media is we're able to see the good things that people do. And I know the thing about in high school, you were also a very talented vocalist.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And which is always impressive. I didn't start singing until a couple years after high school.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I wanted to have you on was to kind of discuss some of the things that you have been involved with and just how you have continued to use your voice in a way to uplift people, have conversations, and kind of talk about that. So I know after high school you were on American Idol.
I did have that little adventure in my life.
Yeah, so you did that at the age of 19, correct?
Yes, so I graduated in 2011 from Francis Howell North, and after that I was very determined that I was going to go to college because that's the standard, and you don't really know at 18 years old what else is out there except for college. So I was determined that I was going to go to college. I knew that I was going to go to University of Central Missouri, and I already had everything booked and ready to go to UCM. And then American Idol said that my uncle texted me and said, hey, American Idol is coming into town this summer. You should definitely audition. And Laurel Reese, who is one of my greatest and longest friends, she and I always sang together growing up. And so we kind of talked about it and made a game plan and said, okay, we'll audition, whatever. And so we get there, and we actually had a group of girls that were part of our choir class because we are very, very involved in choir. And we all kind of came together and said, let's make a day of it. Let's all audition on the same day. Whatever happens, happens. It's going to be a blast. But that first day that you go and you sign up and you actually audition, it's drastically different than what you see on TV.
Yes.
It's a very different type of dynamic. You are there. We filled up, I think it was the Stiefel Theater, or it was something downtown St. Louis. I can't remember. It was an arena.
Was it Chaffetz?
It could have been the Chaffetz. Yeah,
okay.
It definitely could have been the Chaffetz. Anyway, there were about 20 to 30,000 people there. And we filled up every single seat. And so you can imagine the day was excruciatingly long.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time that you get to your time, it's more of a cattle call. So you're called down in a section, and you're not auditioning in front of anybody you would know. It's not any recognizable faces. It's all producers of the producers of the producers' assistants. So it's like the first round of people that they have a job on American Idol, but it's more of getting the coffee and stuff like that. No disrespect, I've gotten coffee for many people in my career. So, excuse me. So we get kind of down to the floor of the arena, and whenever you're getting called up, you're in like a group of 10, like a line of 10, and you don't say who you are. You don't say why you're there, where you're from. It's nothing personal. There's
no background story. You're not the elderly grandmother who has, 10 children and 14 dogs, and you're just, this is your one chance to afford Jell-O for the next week.
Totally. Dog food for the next month. This is not it. They don't want to hear really your sob story or anything like that. They just want to know if you can sing or not. So you get down on the floor, and one by one they say Shelby or Jasmine or whomever.
Maybe even Katie.
Maybe Katie. And then you go and you sing for about 30 seconds, and then they say, okay, enough. And then you kind of go back to your placement, and then they keep people that they want to move on to the next round. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, I made it through that first round, and so did a couple of our other friends that you would know. And from that moment on, it was a summer of just insanity.
Rock and roll.
Just craziness. I had to tell UCM that I wasn't going to come for that semester, because throughout that process, American Idol wasn't like, this is the day and time that you're going to be doing your next audition. It was like, we will contact you when we want to contact you, and it could be tomorrow, it could be a month from now. We just need you to be prepared to basically drop everything and come to this audition. And they were all in St. Louis. They weren't going to take you anywhere. Mm-hmm. But it was just a summer of a waiting game, basically, and kind of making any of your future plans that you already had set in place, you had to cancel those, because it was either going to be you're going to audition for American Idol and make it, or you were going to go, for myself, away to college.
Wow. That is probably something that, when people watch it on TV, because during the first few seasons I would watch it, and you don't really know about the intricacies behind it. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what song you first auditioned?
God, I don't think I remember what I sang first. I remember specifically, they made an announcement over the PA saying, do not sing anything by Aretha Franklin. Like, we are spent on Aretha Franklin. Do not sing anything by her, because that's a really belty, rangy kind of song. Anything by Aretha Franklin. So a lot of women would choose to sing a song by her, and they were sick and tired of that. I definitely know that they said that, but God, I couldn't remember what I sang in that 30 seconds. I think it might have been something by Queen. I think I did try to sing Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was not good, but I made it through anyway. And then my second audition happened, and I can't remember what I even sang then. And there was, again, Brittany Burke made it through, Laurel Reese made it through. So luckily I had some friends with me at that time that we were kind of going through this together. And that second audition was more about, we condensed 30,000 people to about 10,000 people. And so we did the second audition and I made it. And then the third audition was 10,000 people to about 500. And then I made it. And then the last audition was when you meet the celebrity judges. So you do 3 different sets of auditions before you actually meet the celebrity judges. And then I met Jennifer Lopez, Steven Tyler, Randy Jackson, Ryan Seacrest. It was fantastic, but the entire day was filmed, and the cameras were all over you, all over the family. That's where you give your sob story. That's where you give your background. And it's a pretty insane, stressful day, because you have a lot of people that are incredibly talented from 16 years old all the way up until 35 that are singing constantly, preparing constantly, people that have been in the game for a long time with vocal coaches. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. And that day I remember actually being like legitimately nervous. I don't think I've ever felt that way in my life, even like up until this moment. I have never felt that's that much pressure and that many nerves happening all at once, even now at 29 years old. And I remember auditioning in front of them, and I sang Firework because I sang that at my high school graduation.
Of course.
And I was comfortable enough to do that. I knew the range. I knew that they wanted to hear a different type of song. So a strategy. And I sang it in front of them, and they all said, yes, we like you. You're spunky. You're fun. Go on with your bad self. Here's the golden ticket. And that was awesome. But all of those times in St. Louis, all of those days that you spend in St. Louis auditioning and practicing were nothing compared to actually taking a plane for the first time by myself to California and going to Hollywood. That was like, then I was in like the top 150 of the nation. Then I was with people from all over the country that were top tier singers. I mean, different level, different playing game. I was used to being at Francis Howell North in choir. These people were singing around the world, doing tours already with legit bands. And I was like, I got myself into something that I didn't know what I was really doing. Didn't know what I was doing. It was fun though. It was a great time.
Excellent. And do you still keep in touch with some of those people that you met?
No.
Or is it just kind of one of those things where you go through that experience, you do it, and then you go back to...
Yeah, whenever you lose, whenever I was off the show, you have like a people that you spent the last couple of days with, complete strangers from 5 days ago that now have been your only source of communication and anything from the outside world for the last umpteen days. So whenever I did lose, I did have a group of people that did rally around me and were there for me. And, you know, we Facebooked and said, we'll always keep in touch. And then life happens, and, you know, you realize after that experience that the only thing you had in common was that experience. And that for that time, you're what you needed. You know, you're the people that you needed for that circumstance. But at 19, I was like, all right, we can be Facebook friends, that's fine, but we're probably not going to keep up with each other. And then I moved on to UCM.
Right. And so going back and committing to that, because I mean, I feel like someone who would have gone through something like that and had the taste of the thrill, and to go back and finish your degree, I think that takes a lot of fortitude and discipline and just a very mature thought process, you know, because college isn't for everybody.
Right.
And it all depends on maybe what you eventually want to do. So going through UCM, you know, and singing, and did that lead, you know, to what you currently do at the radio, or what was that transitionary process like?
Well, after American Idol, I definitely was sad. I definitely was depressed because for the longest time, my parents are very practical people. I love them both very much, but they knew their daughter very well and always told me, you know, you can sing and you can love to sing, but always keep your day job. Like, remember that, like, there is a small fraction of this world that actually make it. And I always had that mentality until I made it to American Idol. Then I was like, oh, I'm going to be a bigwig. And I was 19, so I thought I really was going to do something with singing. And then when that's taken away from you and you realize, like, oh, you aren't the best and you do have to fail and it is going to stink, you kind of have to settle and learn from that experience and find a new dream and find a new thing to do that you can still love to sing, but also kind of smack down to earth, smack down to reality, and realize that you can also live an amazing, extraordinary life by choosing something else that could be your dream. So when I went to UCM, I still had in the back of my head that I wanted to do something with singing. And throughout UCM, I did have opportunities to work with producers and DJs, and I did perform a lot, and I did have a couple of songs that were original songs that made it to Spotify, and that were not at this time in my life would I say that they were good, but at that time in my life, I was like, oh, these are okay, these are a bop. But not at 29 anymore.
A bop?
A bop. That's a young kid term.
Is it like it slaps?
Yeah, it's slap.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all.
That's a snap. You just did a snap.
But it's a slap. But you know
Please
what I
don't do
meant.
that. Okay. My apologies. Continue.
But it was a hobby. That it became a hobby, and I got into radio because I first went to UCM thinking I was going to be a social worker. That's what I wanted to do my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to help people, specifically kids in the foster care programs. I just felt like that was my real calling. And then you get into some of those classes and you read about some of those situations, which I did, and it was just too much for me emotionally. Mm-hmm. And I realized that if I chose to do that path, it would be a very taxing deal, and that I would have to become much harder and much more, my skin would have to be thicker mm-hmm. to handle those situations and circumstances, specifically the ones that I wanted to put myself in. And so I was like, I don't think I can do this emotionally. I think it might be too difficult, and it actually might change who I am as a person in a way that I'm not prepared for. So the other thing that I knew I was good at, if you can't tell already, is talking. Communication. I knew there weren't a lot of things that I was good at growing up, but I do love people, and I love to talk to people. And despite this podcast and all of my talking, I actually like to listen to people and their stories as well. I know, it's crazy. So I realized that we had this program at UCM called Digital Media Productions, and then you chose your emphasis, which mm-hmm. I chose news. You can do journalism, well, not journalism, you could do like print, videography, production, all of these different things. And so I chose news, and from there I got to work with an affiliate for PBS, which I adored. It was so much fun. PBS was such a wonderful organization, and I love kids, and I love being goofy and silly and wild, and they allowed me to do all of that and more and be my authentic self, which is crazy. But I also was able to learn how to edit and use audio and film and things with mics and tripods and carry equipment, and then to be on camera and write my own scripts and learn how to read off of a teleprompter and be comfortable with a co-host. So UCM offered me an opportunity, a chance that I took with this extracurricular program. And through working at, it was called KMOS, through working with KMOS, I was able to build up this crazy skill set and learn what it really was going to take in order to make my way into media. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got involved in radio. Never, ever, ever dreamed of being in radio at all. I wanted to do TV and TV only. That's what I was trained for. That's what I was ready for. And then that hit me like a ton of bricks that it's extremely hard for anybody who has ever studied journalism or media or radio or anything. It's a really, really tough business to get into. You have to know someone, to know someone, to know someone. It's all about networking. Mm-hmm. And it's really all about internships as well. So if you don't have the right internship, or you didn't choose to go to do your internship, say, somewhere in a large market like we're here in St. Louis, and I chose to do an internship in a smaller market, it would be extremely difficult for me to edge my way into a large market like here in St. Louis. So that is my journey into the career that I'm in today.
Well, that is fantastic. And, like I said, being involved vocally and through music and continuing, utilizing, hey, this didn't work, let me pivot and do something that still uses some of that aspect mm-hmm. For a career and to be successful in that. I think that's very impressive.
Thank you.
And it's, one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on here is because, not a lot of people can grasp that concept, and they think, oh, if I didn't do this well, that I'm going to, slough off, or I'm just going to shut down and I'm never going to pursue something else. And by doing that and recognizing that, I think that's a very incredible characteristic to have. And I think that's probably something that can be utilized in different aspects of your life as well. And I'm sure that different life situations, because everybody goes through something, and I encourage people to fail. I myself even went on to The Voice and I auditioned. I didn't make it through, but I know that whole experience was like, at one point I wanted to be a musician. But then I had the kidney failure, and it was like, well, hold on, I have these other variables to consider. Mm-hmm. but I still was able to do music on the side. I was able to play open mic at Picasso's and still be able to do that. And I wrote with my first guest, Chad Harvey. I wrote an EP about my transplant experience,
So
which
cool.
you know, it's these things don't just disappear from your life.
No.
And it's important to say, hey, I can still enjoy. I'm a multifaceted person. You know, if people can understand that and say, I'm not just this. I'm not just this. I can, you know, people are very cool. Believe it or not.
Yes. Yes, I do believe it.
And I think, you know, the more dynamic a person has, I think the more of a positive impact they can have on other people. So you know, eventually you said you wanted to go into, you know, on camera or in television. Do you foresee that being something down the road that you work towards, or what is something maybe in the next year or 5 years that you say, hey, this is something that I aspire to do? What's that like for Katie Fitzpatrick?
I love radio now. I didn't think that I was going to love it as much as I possibly do. And now that I figured out, I'm 6 years into the radio business, and you know, I started up as an intern, a digital media intern, writing on websites, and that is a completely different job than what I'm even doing now. It's I'm constantly evolving in this medium, and I'm so thankful that I got to do this because of the mentors that have helped me along the way. I met the right people, and I was the right person at the right time, which also for anybody that's getting into media, that is a huge role besides networking. Right person, right time, right people backing you up. So I know it sounds like a lot like chance, but it's also hard work and all the other things. It's a strange thing to say, but I don't really have a game plan for the next 5 years. I think that at 29, I have found a job that I really enjoy with people that I really enjoy. And usually for the last 10 years of my life, I'll even say 11, because at 18, you're preparing for the rest of your life as a senior in high school. I think I always had a goal that I wanted to meet, and I always had an agenda. And I tried to follow through with that agenda. And as you just said, JT, there's a lot of failures and there's a lot of compromises you have to make with your own life to live in the parameters of reality. But right now, I've arrived at a moment in my life where I love my job, I love the people I'm with, I love my life outside of my job. And for the first time, I'm not really looking at 5 or 10 years down the road. I'm kind of saying to myself, live in this moment and be happy about this moment, and keep striving and keep perfecting the craft, so that if an opportunity does arrive within the current job that I have, and I have an opportunity to level up, and I have an opportunity to become something more with these people that have really shaped me in my career, then I'll take that. But it's a really crazy thing right now, JT. Maybe you feel this way too. At 29, I feel like for the first time, I'm kind of letting go of the anxiety and the pressure of like, what is the next 5 years? What is the next 6 or 7 years look like for me? And I'm really living every single day and learning whatever I need to learn every single day and loving that. So I guess my short answer to a very long answer that I just gave, yowza, is that my plan is to stay in radio for as long as I possibly can. I have an opportunity that I get to speak on the radio and share my ideas and share my thoughts. Yes, some people might not like them. That's okay. Everybody's got an opinion. But I get to say and be who I am in my most authentic self right now to the greater St. Louis area, and I feel like that is a huge blessing, and most people my age don't get to have that opportunity. So I guess I'm just gonna take this ride and see where it goes until the end of time, hopefully.
Wow. Yes. I support that. I love it. Katie, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to be part of this gratitude project. I love you. Thank you very much for being in my life, and I hope that we continue to watch each other do cool things, because I'm very fortunate.
I have to say this before we go. JT is a wonderful human being. He didn't pay me to say this. This is all me. JT is an awesome human being. I was so grateful and so flattered that you asked me to be on this podcast, because as you said, we haven't talked in like 10 years, and we've kept up with one another on social media, thank God for that, and Facebook. But even me walking through the doors today, it just feels like we picked up where we left off. And you are such a humble, wonderful guy, and I'm so happy that you started this podcast. I think nothing but good things could come out of it. And to see you always hustling and working for people and being proactive in your life and with your passions, dude, that's freaking awesome. That's amazing. And I'm just so happy you asked me to be on this. So thank you. And I love you. And I can't wait to see this podcast blow up. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. And I got to be a small part of it. And so I'm very thankful. Thank you.
You're a catalyst. And it was very nice of you to say. Thank you very much. And yeah, we'll be getting together soon.
Sure.